I'm happy to introduce Kit Miller from Miller and Associates. Is working with sport horses for a long time in his career. Has also been a US show jumping team vet. Kit, what do you see? How do you see the future of orthobiologics in our sport? Is it really a game changer, or is just another new kid on the block?
Well, I think it's really an evolving practice for all of us, and and those of us in sports taking care of sport horses. I think most of us really believe that it will become a game changer. I think that it's very much in its evolutionary phase, but I think the the prospect of having available therapies that are potentially regenerative, that help the athletes to compete at their peak level without any of the adverse effects from other sort of more traditional therapies is something that's intriguing, and I think most of us believe that we're well on our way.
So since it's something so completely new and there's a lot to be learned, where do you get your knowledge regarding what you can use, what you should use for different indications? How do you find your way in this big jungle of all these different orthobiologic therapies?
Well, I think that that's really the beauty of our industry, which is the relationships that we have with colleagues. So we get the information from our own personal experiences, but also by sharing those experiences with others in the industry. I think that we're very good about that, about comparing notes, about sharing successes and failures, and so I think that we're able to learn not only from our own experiences but from the experiences of trusted colleagues. And I think that's where the summit has really upped that game even more, because now we're able to communicate not only with some of those trusted colleagues, but also people in other industries, researchers, people that have information that we as practitioners don't have at our fingertips, and yet we can use that information to help us make treatment choices.
How do you like the interaction with the human doctors, with the MDs that do a lot of orthobiologics and that use a lot of orthobiologics? Does that add value, or or are we doing more advanced things? How do you see that interaction?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I think that they have some constraints on them that we don't experience in our practice, and that's given us liberty to try some of these therapies based upon the science that we have available and based upon our conversations with colleagues. I think it's interesting, certainly, to hear how fully they have embraced the orthobiologics and really validated it with science. So I think it really helps us to know, listen, we're on the right track here.
Yeah, so you feel like we're on the right track, and we're
on the right track for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Is there something, special advice you would have for young colleagues that are not so experienced, and particularly those who do not really have this network that you have after after, I should say, during your long career, because it hasn't finished yet. at least not that I'm aware of.
No, not just yet.
No, but how is there anything you can advise young and bright vet students or people that just finished vet school and work with horses, how they get acquainted with what's going on?
Well, the relationships are so invaluable, and what I would recommend is to cultivate mentors people that have, that have had experiences, good and bad. And, because we're willing and happy to share them. And I think that in our industry, I think there's a real generosity amongst the practitioners and a willingness to do that. So I don't think there's anything better than being able to consult with a colleague, somebody that you trust. And the best advice I could give a young practitioner is cultivate those relationships. There are a lot of really excellent veterinarians out there, and for the most part, I think everybody's willing to share.
Well, that's how we learned.
Right. That's how we learned. Right. And and those of us that are still at it, can name the fortunate relationships that we had with our mentors, and certainly I can, and I owe a great deal to them. And to me, it's a privilege to be able to provide the same kinds of advice to anybody that seeks it.
That's very often a bit of a high step for young people to take, to go into to discuss these things with these seasoned practitioners. But I think that they are very much willing and to share and to learn young colleagues. And what I personally find is that you learn a lot from your mistakes, and you learn even more by sharing these mistakes. If you keep these mistakes for yourself, and if first of all you get a bit cranky about it and you get a bit annoyed by it, but if you talk about it and if you share it with other people, then they learn, you learn. And it takes a little bit of a load off your back.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think that, and really, I can just say that in my career, I think one of the greatest pleasures that I have now is the interaction with the younger, associates. And I think that, for sure, I've learned a great deal from my mistakes. And I think that, that's something else I'm willing to impart to others, and they can avoid those mistakes, and maybe I'll learn from them.
Kit, one more question. Do you have any advice for people that are going to watch the Orthobiologics Summit for the first time? Is there a way to look at it in a special way? Is there a way to take more out of it? How did you look at these sessions?
It's a lot. There's a ton of information, and I think the format of it is particularly unique and innovative. And I think that it's a time commitment for sure, but the beauty of it is, you take a notebook and you write down a couple notes, and then when you have a minute, you can go back and review some part of a lecture that you found particularly intriguing, or that you didn't. I had to listen to Roger Smith like 4 times. So but it's all there and it's all available. And so, I think that it's so unique and innovative, and it's very, very well worth the time investment.
Well, and I think that the beauty of it is the kind of library that you have afterwards, where you can, search on the platform and go back. That's also important for people to understand, that they can go back to the sessions from 2020 as well. Mm-hmm. It's all available. It remains on the platform, and it's work in progress. But that's what our profession is about, isn't it?
But I think that's, this is, what you guys, Mark, have really created is something that is of incredible importance for all of us, because, I think that, when Mark said, he went into this thinking, okay, he's going to, when it's all said and done, he's going to know exactly what to do in each case. And that's not what happened. No. What happened was that there is this dialogue that's going on, and it's not finished. We're evolving, and I think to be part of the dialogue is particularly rewarding.
Yeah. Well, I think that's also an invitation for all our professional colleagues, but also from physiotherapists and from other people who are working with horses. to really, as a kind of vacuum cleaner, get all this knowledge inside you, and then afterwards find the time to rewind and have a look again and get you more information.
Yeah.
Well, Kit, thank you very much for talking for this 50 minutes or so.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.